How's it going, everyone? I'm Josh from Elder Drunken Highlander, and this is our ultimate guide to playing Brallin and Shabraz, which is, in my completely unbiased opinion, one of, if not the most fun cEDH decks of all time. I mean, come on, you get to play a giant flying shark and his sexy shirtless combo buddy. It's also my personal cEDH deck with which I have a fair bit of success, largely on PlayEDH Max and in trusted webcam metas like the spell table games we play on the Elder Drunken Highlander Discord. This is an adaptive deck that is capable of slamming down fast wins or grinding it out depending on the game state. We have two powerful and reliable combos that have great synergies with our commanders in Curiosity and Breach Loops. We also have a really solid backup plan of wheel synergies, burn damage, and shark beats. Lastly, we fly under the radar with Shabraz, and often if we can stick him into a wheel or two, we can just straight up kill someone with commander damage. In cEDH, Shabraz is amazing. If you like what you see in this video, make sure to join the Shark Gang Discord, where the creators of all the lists you see here and many more amazing shark enthusiasts hang out every day. You can directly ask us questions about our success with this deck, budget cuts, or just cEDH in general. Links to that and our channel Discord, where you can jam games with us over Spell Table and play some cEDH with and or against the shark, will be in the video description. Shark Gang! You should also look into supporting our channel if you enjoy what we put out. Subscribe, share this with your friends, click all the links in the description below, and maybe even join our Patreon for some spicy rewards. Now, back to the deck. This is going to be a little different from our normal deck techs, as I'll be showcasing multiple deck lists, only one of which is my own, and talking about general strategies and cards for this build to use as a deck building guide. The goal of this video isn't to tell you how to build or play this deck, but to show you all the options of what's been working for the people who play it regularly, and allow you to make the informed decision on creating your own build and adapting it to your own meta. Basically, we want to give you all the information you need to get to Brallin with Brallin and slappin' with Shabraz. The deck lists we'll be looking at for this video are the ones in the cEDH decklist database, as well as my own personal list, Jaws 5, We're Gonna Need a Bigger Plane, and also a few other notable lists from other places. Each build has different facets of these versatile and powerful commanders that they focus on, which we will touch upon in our next few sections. As such, all the cards featured in this video are suggestions, and no one deck contains all of them. When building your own version of this deck, consider which cards are good in your own meta. For example, if your meta has a lot of monocolored decks, you may want to avoid Blood Moon. This deck tech will focus on the following aspects of the deck. Why Shark? Strategies and paths to victory. Card advantage. Stacks and disruption. Matchups. We'll start with why Shark? Why play this deck? I'll start with the reason I play it personally. I've been a Curiosity player since like 2013 with OG Niv Mizzet. My biggest qualm with the deck has been the mana for your 6 mana combo value commander is often too much once it gets removed, and because of that you can't just throw Niv out there whenever. With Brallin as a cheaper combo outlet in the command zone, and Shabraz as a value creature I can just send out to punch people, I found this deck fit my playstyle much better than my beloved Niv Curiosity control. Compared to other Jeskai decks, this build is capable of doing things others are not. It is a truly adaptive deck able to effectively straddle the line between combo and stacks. It may not be as fast as decks like Elsha, may not use the graveyard as efficiently as Vidrock, has less reliable combo from the command zone than Jeska Ishai, and well, it's actually just better than Kaikar, never mind. What this deck brings to the table that other Jeskai decks do not are its Swiss Army knife-like versatility that allows it to pivot on plans mid-game, its wheel synergy, and the ability to play effectively through nearly any Stax effect in the meta right now. No matter the effect, we have a win con that we can pivot to that can play through it. Also, having the Shark as a one-card combo in the command zone forces your opponents to play around gigantic flying beats and use the removal that could be hitting your combo pieces on a dumb shark bird thing. Strategies and paths to victory. When playing this deck, keep in mind that it isn't a turbo deck. You shouldn't try to race anyone. Often, you just want to cast Shabraz early and pressure life totals while setting up your own advantage, either through stacks and disruption, wheels and card draw value, or a mix of both. The deck has 3 main methods of winning. The most well-known one, but not actually our best one interestingly enough, is Curiosity. Using a discard outlet like Phil the Ghostly Pilferer, Tireless Tribe, or your cleanup step, we can trigger Brallin enough times to burn out the entire table. Simply cast Curiosity or another similar effect and target your Brallin. When you discard a card, his ability goes in the stack and deals 1 damage to each opponent and puts a +1/+1 counter on himself. Curiosity then gives us the option to draw up to 3 cards from the damage being dealt. Using a discard outlet, we can then manually discard more cards, or if it is during the cleanup phase at the end of our turn, we start a new cleanup phase once we draw more cards, and we'll have to discard again, which will once more trigger Curiosity. We then repeat this process until we've discarded enough cards for Brallin to deal deadly doses of damage. Some notes on this combo: be careful when using Tandem Lookout. They seem tempting, as they can be tutored or put down on the board the turn before we cast Brallin, but if you read carefully, you'll notice the effect isn't a May. This means you will need to kill your own Lookout or cast Angel's Grace before it kills you once you've drawn a critical mass of cards. If that kill spell gets countered, you lose. I actually don't think any of the deck authors featured in the video would recommend the Lookout. Some Brallin decks, like my own, don't even run Ophidian Eye. I'll get more onto why that is later. As for discard outlets, there are a few options out there. Phil is far and away our best one, as he can be an amazing source of card advantage that counters things like Food Chain and Breach. Tireless Tribe is another option that some people run, although personally I think it lacks utility outside the combo. And Ghostly Wings is a lesser known choice with the secondary upside of being a decent removal option on an opponent's creature. Just note, don't attach this to Brallin, it bricks the combo. Another notable aspect of this combo is the existence of everyone's favorite hasty combo pirate boy, Glinthorn Buccaneer. This guy is basically a second Brallin, but he costs less. There is some debate as to whether or not it's correct to run this guy. Personally, I don't think it is worth a slot in your deck. Yes, he comes out faster than Brallin, has a built-in discard outlet, and gets around Drannith Magistrate. However, including him means you're going to be focusing mainly on the Curiosity combo, which I personally think shouldn't be our main combo focus, but more of an oops, I guess I win thing that can come up in the midst of us wheeling and dealing while assembling our main combo. Speaking of which, Underworld Breach is one of our main combo routes in this deck. Breach offers insane value with cards like Lion's Eye Diamond, Jessica's Will, Brain Freeze, and Lotus Petal alongside our Wheels package. We can use any of these tools to spam Wheels through Breach and win any number of ways, including manual burn damage with Brallin, Brain Freeze Mill, or simply drawing our way into Curiosity. Brain Freeze is the star here, as it can act as both fuel for Breach by filling our yard and a win con by milling out our opponents. Just having Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, or even sometimes Jessica's Will and enough mana rocks can be enough to end it with Brain Freeze by filling our own grave and then our opponent's. Breach is so good that it can sometimes be worth it just to plop down a Breach for value, and wheeling even twice in a turn can set us up so incredibly far ahead that it can be difficult for our opponents to recover. Burn damage from Brallin can take entire pods off their ad nauseums, and both of our commanders get big enough to kill players in 1 to 2 hits. This non-infinite value damage is often underestimated by players and allows us to sneak by removal and interaction in order to do sneaky things like kill people in response to their actions using a Lion's Eye Diamond discard with Brallin, or even just bopping players with Lightning Bolt or Earthquake. Don't worry about just throwing Breach out there whenever you think you can stick it and a wheel. We have a ton of ways to get it back in this deck if you end up needing it later for a win, and beefing up our Shark or burning out the table for some damage is almost always worthwhile. Another notable aspect of this win con is the existence of the card Intuition. This card, along with Sabine's Reclamation, can allow us to assemble winning piles nearly every time we cast it. Our standard pile is Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Sabine's Reclamation. This pile guarantees we get Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond onto the board no matter what choice our opponents make. We can then just recast Intuition and find Brain Freeze and some protection in order to finish things out. Even without Breach, Wheels themselves can serve as soft win cons in this build. There are the obvious upsides of using them for value with our commanders, and also some locks we can hit people with, such as wheeling into a Narset, Hull Breacher, and even sometimes Alms Collector. Sometimes, even just having the mana to wheel twice in one turn gets us enough value to take it, and constantly sifting through hands makes it hard for opponents to make plans and utilize cards such as Necropotence, especially since draining your life brings in the very real threat of lethal damage from our commanders. While Narset and Hull Breacher are certainly staples for the deck, Alms Collector is more of a flex choice. Lists that are more all-in on Wheels may want to consider it. Lists focused on Curiosity or Breach should leave it out. Dak Faden gets an honorable mention here since he says target player. Think about that one for a second with Hull Breacher. Narset and Hull Breacher can really save the game for us, but our opponents are also likely packing this dynamic duo, plus maybe even some other stuff like Turgid, Spirit of the Labyrinth, and Notion Thief. When looking to wheel, beware of that dreaded 3 open mana for Hull Breacher. We do have quite a few ways to get around those cards though. Lightning Bolt and our various blasts can do a number on a Narset and kill a Breacher outright. Shabraz can also give Narset the old what for, as can Brallin if we give him flying. We have bounce spells as well that can mainly bounce our dockside, but also can remove Narset or turn off Hull Breacher at least long enough for us to wheel him away. Lastly, we have a few more removal options that exile as well as numerous ways to counter these spells before they reach the board. An exciting new development in the world of Brallin that I have gone all in on my personal list is the addition of the Foretell mechanic. These cards can be stored for later as the rest of our hand gets wheeled away, which allows us to save Disruption for turns after we wheel. Tales of the Ancestors is a great refill after dumping mana rocks after a wheel, and is even better with Hull Breacher since it's so cheap. There are lots of interesting options for the Foretell mechanic, although I'm personally only testing out 4 of them right now. Wheels can also serve as one of our main sources of card advantage, as we can often dump hand and then refill back up with a wheel in the same turn, utilizing our commanders in the process. This also has synergies with cards like Jeska's Will and Tales of the Ancestors, giving us advantage by keeping our opponents at 7 cards. This is why Silence is so important in this deck, as it allows us to wheel spam with impunity and no threat of interaction from our opponents. In addition to wheelin' and dealin', we also have options like Rhystic and Mystic, Fill, Whirlwind of Thought, and many more card advantage spells also in our wheelhouse. Stax and Disruption. Now that we know how to get ourselves ahead, let's look at how we can put our opponents behind. This deck has multifaceted combos, all of which are fairly resilient to many forms of stacks. As such, you can jam cards like Blood Moon, Curse Totem, Hushbringer, and whichever overlapping effects you prefer in here, no problem. We also play Hull Breacher and Narset, as I talked about earlier, as well, which hates on draws and have those wheel synergies. Board wipes are also an option for us, as we frequently are low on creatures anyways. Sweltering Suns and Starstorm are some notables that can do cute things with our commanders. Pyroclasm, Anger of the Gods, and even Crush the Weak are also options alongside Earthquake and its rolling counterpart. These won't kill our commanders, as usually they get dummy thick pretty quick. Doomscar and Crush the Weak are particularly new options that can be stored away before a wheel or Lionside Diamond activation and used later. Personally, I think Crush the Weak is a seriously underrated card that should see more play in Izzet colored decks. Since we are in Jeskai, we also packed a nifty spot removal and counterspell suite. Access to Jeskai colors means this deck can be built with a mind for heavy control with spells or fast combos. Some notable interaction pieces you'll want to pick up are Muddle the Mixture on account of it finding Breach and Mana Drain for help with casting the old Shabraz. Matchups. This deck does best when playing into a slower Staxier meta. Quite a few of our paths to victory just don't care about the Stax pieces that are commonly found at many cEDH tables. When a player resolves a Blood Moon, they are only helping you. Often, powering out Shabraz into a board where another player is resolving a Stax piece can be enough to win just on its own. Stax players always have a plan until a Flying Shark smacks them for 12. Before going into some more general matchups, we have 2 major weaknesses to address. The first is card advantage. Our commanders don't provide this, so we need to make sure we mulligan aggressively for some way to refill our hand. This is probably the biggest downfall of this deck, as drawing cards is kind of important here. If you're playing against a Brawlers deck, keeping them off their card advantage is a good way to keep them behind. Wait, should I really be telling the general public how to beat my favorite deck? Fuck, well I don't edit these at all, so I guess it's too late. It's in there. If you are playing Brallin and Shabraz, make sure you mulligan aggressively for hands with fast mana and card advantage, otherwise you might be left in the dust. We also need to be aware of Gilded Drake. Running our own Drakes, clones, bounce spells, and Homeward Path all helps us keep Shabraz on our team and away from those who would take him from us. The clones can also copy Dockside or card advantage creatures, which is pretty helpful when dumping hand after a wheel. Versus turbo decks that are trying to jam their win as fast as possible, we need to try and jam out stacks or hold up removal to stop their first attempt. Once the game gets rolling, we will usually be able to out-resource these decks by stopping them early so we can overtake them later. It's important. Tapping out for a shark versus ad nauseum isn't worth it. Just don't do it. Trust me, I've lost like 6 games in the last month to it. Oh my gosh. Hold up a reaction, and if you're gonna tap out, at least do it for a stacks piece. Versus more controlling decks such as Advantage Thrasios builds, we need to be careful and properly time when to cast our spells. These decks will be aware of our combo lines and looking to disrupt them. Never feel bad about throwing one of our commanders out as bait for a counterspell. If you have Breach in hand and expect interaction, see if you can get anything just by confidently playing out Brallin. I find that asking cards in hand and then confidently putting Brallin on the stack is usually enough to scare the table into thinking they are about to lose to Curiosity and a wheel. After they remove Brallin, I can play out my real combo. You gotta use any tool at your disposal to win at cEDH, and the reputation of your deck is certainly a tool. Use it to set up some sick bluffs. Against Stax decks, we can usually afford to be more aggressive, as we will be less affected by their hate than other decks at the table. The only effects that truly cripple us are anti-draw effects like Spirit of the Labyrinth or Humility, because, nobody can play through Humility. We can pivot away from stuff hurt by Rest in Peace, play just fine through Rule of Law with Shabraz out, can usually stick enough lands to last through Null Rod, and most Brallin decks already run Blood Moon and Cursed Totem. The Stax matchup is good. The build versatility of these commanders means you can adapt your game plan on the fly even mid-pod, which is one of their major strengths. The various build paths also allow them to flow like putty into whatever meta you choose to play them in. My personal meta versus Kevin and Austin from our channel contains a lot of Stax. Thanks, Kevin and Austin. So my list, Jaws 5, just as an example, doesn't run any Stax pieces since my opponents will be resolving Stax pieces for me. Greedy, I know. The Curiosity kill list from the database plays into a creature-heavy meta, so it contains a few Pyroclasm effects. There's also moon-centric variants out there designed to combat the greedy mana bases of the online turbo meta, and more wheel-focused builds like my own as well. No matter your build path, the deck can pack a serious punch, and it's also universally accepted that smacking people with a gigantic flying shark is a great way to spend an evening. You don't know feelings of power until you get to listen to a cEDH pod try to figure out how they are going to stop themselves from getting one-shot by a giant flying shark. Thank you so much for listening to my mad shark ravings. If you enjoy this content and want to support us, subscribe, leave a like, hit the bell. You can even join our Discord to play games with us on Spell Table or brew some janky decks. If you're trying to learn cEDH or even just this deck, it's a great place to play a bit and learn the ropes. If you want to support us directly, we have a Patreon you can contribute to. We are currently trying to save up our money and buy Austin a webcam and an arm so we can record ourselves playing more easily. So if you want to support us and also receive some of these amazing rewards, including your name in the credits of each video, check it out. Ah, shoot, I'm running out of time to do all these fucking promos. We have a Twitter where I mostly post bad memes I make on my iPhone. We have an Instagram where we post art and sometimes good memes I make on my iPhone. A subreddit where we post bonus content. And a Twitch. You could follow us to see Commander streams and stuff. I also did an art stream on there last week, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, art. Alright, that's way too many fucking promos. I don't know how these people with link trees do it. Thank you again for sticking around to the end of the video. If you're hearing this, you were of the chosen few who didn't click off when I started promos. Nice. We appreciate your viewership immensely. I'll see you next time.